I think, you know, one of the biggest mistakes anybody ever did is when you let Randy Popes get a big lead on you, gap you, it just puts the reins in his hands. He can drive whatever pace he wants to right now. There's no pressure, and no one's drafting him.
Well, the GT class here in Speed World Challenge, bigger cars, heavier cars, more horsepower, Dorsey. I would think that tire conservation on a warm day like today is going to be more critical, and perhaps a pace out in front early on is what you need to
Well, you might be right about that, Brian. One of the cars, one of the Porsches, just came in. That's the 66 car, which is a stop-and-go penalty because he jumped the start. Let me explain this for a minute, because on a starting procedure, on a standing start, the rule is if the car moves whatsoever before those lights go off, that's a jump start.
Well, that was Tim McKenzie in the number 66 Porsche. Also understanding that Dino Crescentini in one of the GMG Porsches, teammates to James Sofronis, also jumped the start and will serve a penalty. Tommy Archer pulled a little bit clear of Andy Pilgrim, but it's Brandon Davis who's now in his black Mustang, the number 10, really putting the pressure on Pilgrim in that number 8 Cadillac CTSV.
You know what will happen, Brian? You'll be up there at the starting line and you'll put your foot in on the clutch and you'll rev the engine all the way up to the rev limiter, wait to release the clutch, but the clutch gets really hot in that mode and it'll start creeping. The car start moving forward. It's a downhill straightaway. Any movement in the car, you get that penalty.
Last time by, Randy Popes just about 0.2 of a second faster than Tommy Archer. Almost about a second lead right now, and Andy Pilgrim beginning to drop back just a little bit, it seems like, Calvin.
He is, and I think certainly he's trying to manage those tires. That's a real key with a heavy car like the Caddy. But Andy Pilgrim is really feeling at home with this Remington Cadillac team. You've got Neville Lagasse, who's from Pratt & Miller. He comes over on a contract basis for the race weekends, and believe it or not, that is the same car that Andy has been driving since the year 2003. So even the Transporter was purchased last year, the hospitality unit, everything's looking good for Andy, and he feels that the team is really coming from strength to strength.
I think the only thing that's different is the team uniform that he wears, but what a great comfort to go to the racetrack and get in a car that you know so well.
Yeah, there's nothing like your own race car. It's like your own bed. You know, you just get so used to it. It's just home.
Randy Popes, the mayor of Watkins Glen, continues to lead. And a problem onto the front straightaway. Jeff Courtney in one of the Woodhouse Vipers, a problem onto the front straightaway. Courtney back underway, and looked like he made some pretty significant contact, Dorsey, but the car running straight.
Yeah, he just got out from under him in turn 11 there. That turned around and he backed into the wall, but it doesn't look like it's damaged.
Well, a moment for Jeff Courtney here at Watkins Glen in round 4 of the Speed GT Championship, but Randy Popes having it all his way out in front right now. Randy Popes leads over Tommy Archer and Andy Pilgrim. That is your top 3 in the Speed GT Championship from Watkins Glen International. Stick around, plenty of excitement yet to come. Randy Popes just leaving your screen on the right. He continues to lead round 4 of the Speed GT Championship from Watkins Glen. Tommy Archer, a little bit more adrift than he was a couple of laps ago, Dorsey. Now 1.7 second gap, but once again, with these cars, a lot of horsepower, a lot of weight, and a lot of heat today. I got to think you got to save the tires a little bit until the end.
Well,
but how much can you give up?
The battle right now is third place. Andy Pilgrim doing a real good job trying to stay in front of Brandon Davis, but those are the aggressive 2 drivers. Andy Pilgrim's really good at what you're talking about, conserving the tires, waiting to the end to have something left to charge with. But you can't really conserve tires if you got a guy like Brandon Davis hounding you like he's doing right now.
Andy Pilgrim, GT champion back in 2005 in a Cadillac. Brandon Davis. Car really moving a lot there. I mean, he seems to let the car move a lot more through the S's than Andy Pilgrim does.
It's definitely freed up more than Andy's. It's a looser car, but I think that's the way Brandon likes to drive it too.
22 years old, just graduated from college. As a matter of fact, didn't go to his college graduation ceremony. It's this weekend, and he said, you know what? I know it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal, but so is leading perhaps the GT Championship. So he's our points leader right now and didn't want to give up anything, certainly didn't want to give up any edge to his competitors. He said, hey, I'm going racing this weekend.
Yep. Racing thing gets in the way of a lot of different stuff sometimes.
Once the racing IV gets started, it kind of stays, doesn't it? Right now, Davis in the toe of the boot looks to the inside of Pilgrim.
Got the good run, no doubt about it. Drives it in deeper. Now, can he hold it to the inside? Yeah, he did a good job, real good job.
You know, I got to hand it to you. Anytime 2 cars make a successful pass, it's up to both the drivers to allow that to happen. But I think that's exactly what what Andy Pilgrim did right there. He just said, you know what? You got me right now.
Yeah, it's a futile effort to go beyond. Once you get into the brake zone and the guy's along and he's on inside of you, why not just let it go? You know, because you're just going to be slower going side by side through the middle of the corner. Just let him go, tuck in behind him, and say, you go wear your tires out. I'll come get you later.
Pilgrim knows that the lap that is the most important lap is that final one to the checkered flag, that run to the checkered flag. So he's been on the podium every race this year. Consistency, he knows, is key. That's how he won his championship back in 2005. So Andy Pilgrim, the consummate professional, and I think he's just saying, you know what, we got a ways to go here. 22 laps around Watkins Glen, and I'm just going to make sure I have a car to make a run at the end.
You got to feel your car. You got to feel how much the front's pushing or the back's loose, and drive within the confines of the car. Otherwise, you burn it down too early. I think that's what you're seeing right now with Andy Pilgrim. He's just running at the pace that the car feels it wants to do right now.
Last time around, Randy Popes and Tommy Archer almost identical lap times, and you look back a little further in the field, the battle for ninth, Tony Gaples there, and the number 34 is Black Dog Racing Corvette. Joey Scarallo right behind him, and if you're going, that's not Joey, he drives a Corvette. Well, not anymore.
Nope, that's Pontiac now, and he's given a pretty good chase. The Corvette gaps him on the straightaway, however.
Perhaps not getting through the S's quite as well as he needs to, but that 06 Pontiac GTO, Stu Hayner drove that car in the series last year, so if you're thinking it looks familiar, well, it does, and Scarallo and the boys have moved over that Pontiac, hoping that they'll get a little bit better performance than they had out of the Corvette that they were running a little bit earlier in the year. Tony Gaples down through the laces of the boot.
Now, this corner throughout the weekend has been really slippery. We've had a lot, and that doesn't help either, driving over the apex curve. We've had a lot of crashes over the weekend in that corner, and that's really unusual at this racetrack, but it must be real slippery.
Down in what we call the toe of the boot there, so good run out of that corner is important. Look at that. That's James Safronis coming from way back.
There's trouble. There's trouble on the 10 car.
That's problems. Brandon Davis, remember, he had been running third. He has got a problem, definitely off song and off pace, Dorsey.
Yep, he just was trying to listen to the engine. That sounds sick. I think he's got something bad going on here.
Our points leader having problems, not out of the top 5 all season long, including the win at Long Beach, the second at Miller Motorsports Park. That's not going to happen today, as you saw the number 10 of Brandon Davis head to pit in.
We'll see what happens. Calvin find out for us, but I think it didn't sound to me like the engine was running too good.
Anytime you come to pit road during one of these World Challenge events, you're giving up the ghost, but 22 laps, a sprint race, 50 minutes at the most. Davis into his pit box. Calvin, what can you hear from down there?
Well, I just checked in with the crew. They said he's lost power. They've got a laptop plugged in, trying to see if there's electronics. The crew are underneath the hood. Can't see anything obvious here. There's no kind of oil leak like the engine is blown up, so just shut it down. It seems like they'll work feverishly trying to get him back out there before he goes a lap down. Then he needs a big break with a caution.
Did it sound like it had any fire in it at all when it was coming down pit road, Cal?
No, it sounded silent to me, Brian. So they're looking for life, and he needs life to get back in this championship, because he had the lead up until qualifying. He lost it with those bonus points to Randy Popes, but a very strong contender for this championship is having trouble.
Well, that's why it sounded so bad to me. It wasn't running.
I agree with you. It was a little bit off song. So right now you look and back a little bit further, that's Curran and McCann, and I think that's Michael Galati in front of him, and they're beginning to reel him in.
Galati running fourth. That is the battle for fourth you're looking at, and they have caught Mike. Catching and getting by, however, might be a different story.
We're running in lockstep. They've been this way for quite a while. Galati just a couple of tenths slower than Mike McCann and Eric Curran that last lap, so perhaps Michael Galati beginning to slip a little bit. Randy Popes on the other end has not put a wheel wrong all afternoon long. Randy Popes continues to lead in round 4 of the Speed GT Championship, followed by Tommy Archer and Andy Pilgrim. Summer's here, so put some sizzle into your wardrobe with hot new Speed swag. Just visit the Speed store and browse our new styles of Speed polos, t-shirts, jackets, hats, and more. Don't wait. Go to speedtv.com, keyword swag, and buy today.
There's the shirt we're wearing right there.
Yeah, but mine has salad dressing all over the front of it. Back up front, Randy Pope continues to lead, but Dorsey, Tommy Archer is on a tear. He's just turned off 2 laps down in the 52nd 1 minute and 56 second range.